Hey guys, how you doing? This is card number 5, and I'm going to do a pitching tutorial. So I'm going to do live commentary, so bear with me here. Um, if some of you watch my hitting tutorial, you know that I utilized the practice feature in this game. So we're gonna kind of do the same thing, and this is going to be for online and offline. This is going to be for I'm gonna go over each pitching interface, and I'll talk about online and offline tactics and strategies. Let's see what pitcher I want to use. Well, I'll use one of the more common pitchers online. Scherzer's probably one of the most popular. Darvish is popular. Let's see. I passed the Tigers, didn't I? Scherzer. Okay. Tigers. Sure. Sure. So we're not really going to be focused on the results here. I'm just going to be kind of talking through it. I'm gonna be talking about the pros and cons of each interface as well, because I know people use different ones out there. So um, I've used all three of well, I've used all four of them. I don't really use the classic one. I used it a little bit, but like as far as online goes, online and offline goes for like my franchise, or if I'm playing online competitive game, I've used Pulse, Meter, and Analog, and I've been pretty successful using all three of them. So I'm going to kind of talk about them a little bit. I'm sure most of you guys know the gist of how to use them. So we're going to kind of go into that a little bit, and I'll talk about some strategies as well. So we're going to kind of go into that a little bit, and I'll talk about some strategies as well. All right. So first things first, let's check what difficulty this is on. So I have it on Hall of Fame. Let's see here. I'm going to bump it down to All-Star to showcase this. I do pitch a Hall of Fame as far as offline goes, and I usually play my games online Hall of Fame as well. I'll give you a couple key pointers real quick. If you're playing Road to the Show, make sure you have your pitching difficulty one lower than what you want it to be. So if you want to pitch on Hall of Fame and Road to the Show, make sure you have it on All-Star, because what happens is when you hit the majors, it bumps it up a difficulty. So if you have it on All-Star, you'll actually be pitching on Hall of Fame. And what I do is I do pitch on Hall of Fame, and I do have my sliders adjusted a little bit. But yeah, we're gonna do All-Star, and we're gonna start with Classic. Apply changes. Let's see here. All right. So again, a couple key pointers here. Again, for hitting and pitching, there are tons of camera angles to choose from here. Usually when I do online, I just do the same one as when I'm hitting. So I just do this one. No, not that one. This one. Because that way I'm kind of seeing the ball come from the same release point, and I get kind of used to that pitching view, hitting view. But whether or not you guys want to pitch from the catcher's perspective or the pitcher's perspective is up to you. For offline, I like to do behind the pitcher. I like pitcher center mainly for analog. All right, so let's get into it. Okay, so classics, it's the simplest one. I don't recommend classic that much unless you're playing offline and you're trying to get the most realistic results. It's based off your pitcher's attributes more than anything. So it's hardly ever going to hit the spot in which you try to hit. I guess it won't let me show. But anyways, if I could show you guys Max Scherzer's pitching attributes, it's going to go off walks per nine and then his individual pitch controls. I'm not sure what his attributes are, but I know he does have pretty good attributes overall. So if you guys are struggling with the interfaces, this isn't a bad way to pitch, but just keep in mind it's all attribute based. So you might not know where it's going, especially for breaking balls. Like, they can be difficult to pitch with it. Another key pointer for this is the longer you hold down the X button when you're about to pitch it, the more velocity you're gonna try to get on it, but the less accuracy you'll have. So I'm gonna hold it down right here. See, it went way outside, and then I'll try just barely tapping it, see if I can get it anywhere. Near there. Yeah, still, like I said, it's not very accurate. So that's pretty much it for Classic. We're gonna move on. Again, the Classic's not. There's nothing. I have nothing against it, but it's more for probably offline, trying to get sim results. I would only use it online if you just cannot execute any of the three other interfaces. So we're gonna move on to. So what do we got next here? We're gonna go. We'll do analog last. I want to do Pulse next. So Pulse is the second easiest for me to use, but once again, it's kind of a low risk, low reward. So you see that little that black shaded circle pulsating up and down. You want to get it where it's minimized. And I don't really use this anymore. And there's actually two different appearances you can get for that pulse. I actually like this one. There's default and classic. I actually like the classic because it reminds me of MLB 12. Yeah. So you want to minimize it as much as you can, and it should go anywhere in that circle. Again, they kind of nerfed this, so it's not as effective. And plus, the circle depends on your pitcher's attributes. So I'm throwing a slider here. It'll depend on his slider control and Max Scherzer's walks per 9. But keep in mind, even if he has like 99 slider control, you still won't be able to get the pulsating circle minimized as well as like a fastball. Like fastball is always going to have the best command, pretty much regardless of the attributes. So yeah, so pretty much anywhere you put it in that, like anywhere, when I minimize that pulse as much as I can, it's going to go anywhere in there. So if it's as big, like if I leave it just big, it could go pretty much anywhere. See, sometimes you may get lucky, sometimes you may not. It all depends. Alright, so, and another thing that affects the pulse is the pitcher's velocity. I actually figured this out playing Diamond Dynasty. Like, I would make pitchers, finesse pitchers that threw only like 89, 90, and I would have their attributes like maxed out, or they're like walks per 9 and control maxed out. And I would do the same for like a flamethrower. He's throwing, like 100. And every time, man, those finesse pitchers, the pulse would get a lot smaller. So even with the pulse, classic, meter, whatever interface, it's always going to be easier to locate a slower pitch. A slower fastball, anyway. So that's pretty much it for this one, man. Like anywhere where you put the pulse, and whenever you execute your pitch, depending how small it is, it's going to go anywhere in that circle. Alright? That's pretty much it for pulse. I would consider this a low risk, low reward type of pitching interface. Again, some people like this for offline. I know some people do it for online as well. It's really a matter of personal preference, guys. If you struggle with meter or analog, you might want to try pulse, because you will have a little more input with pulse than you would classic. So we're going to go into meter. Meter is probably the most popular one, since its inception with MVP baseball. So meter's pretty simple. I mean, I'm sure you guys understand how to do it. I'm not the greatest with it. I haven't used it that much anymore. A couple key things of meter. If your pitcher gets really high confidence, that final yellow bar, it will expand and become easier to hit. Meter to me is kind of a medium risk, medium reward. If you execute perfectly, usually you'll hit that spot. But if you miss a little bit, it can go anywhere. I would consider meter to probably be the most popular interface to use online. I don't think it's all that hard to use, because I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with it. I think it works well in offline as well. It works well in offline too. So, see here, and same thing for meter as the pulse, man. Like, it's going to be harder to locate breaking balls, even if that pitch has good control. It's just going to be harder. So the one thing I do like about meter over the other interfaces is it feels like I have more control over the velocity and break. Like if I want to throw up and in, like maxed out fastball, I can. Like, here we go, full effort, boom. Of course, it's going to be harder to execute. So I'm not going to talk too much about how to use the meter. I'm sure you guys know how to use it. All right, so we're going to go in the analog. In my opinion, meter and analog are the two best ones to use for online. Offline, it's really kind of how you want to play it. You want more of a sim approach, or you want to have some input in it. It's really up to you guys. We're going to go in analog. Now, this is what I've been using this year. and I like this one the best. So a key tip with analog, at least for me, is I have to change the camera to this camera centered. That way it feels like, when I pitch straight up, it's relative to my screen. It'll go down the middle. I feel like if it's at an angle, it kind of messes with me a little bit, if that makes sense. So I like to do pitch center. When I do online, again, I usually go to extended catcher zoom. But for franchise or offline, I like pitch center. Another key note, if you guys use the broadcast one, it depends on what stadium you're playing in. So it's kind of like when you're watching a game at real life. You'll notice that some teams will have their cameramen in different positions in the outfield or whatever, watching the game. So this will vary based on what stadium you're playing in. So this is another popular one used, but I like pitcher center. Again, it's a matter of preference. Let's see. You guys can also change your. I don't think it's giving me the option here, but you can also change the placement. I think you have to actually go into custom. I don't think it gives me the option here, but you can go into custom camera and you can actually change the size of your meter and your pulse interface up top, and you can actually place it wherever you want. That's only for custom though, and that's not used for online. Like, it won't let me edit camera. So yeah, I use pitcher center. And okay, analog took me a while to get used to, but I think it's the most accurate if you're good with it. So basically, what you're doing is, you're placing your cursor wherever you want to hit your pitch at, and then with the right stick, you're gonna press down until you get to that yellow spot, and then you're gonna press up and then try to get to that spot where you put it. The thing I like about analog is it doesn't really punish you if you missed a spot you're aiming for. So for instance, like, if I see someone bunting at the last second, say this guy's gonna bunt and I'm throwing him up and away or something, I can like intentionally throw a ball at the last second, like what? Actually, yeah, I didn't get that high. And you can also throw it higher or lower depending on how early or late you release it. So like I can release it real early. If you release it earlier, it'll go higher. It should go higher. I'm trying to showcase. Like, yeah, you could do something like that. Throw it in the dirt. That might be the best tactic though if they're bunting. But yeah, say I'm throwing it way over here and like I change my mind and I want to throw inside. You can do that, and it won't punish you or anything. Even offline, I noticed I still get quite a bit of strikeouts even when I do that. So that's what I like about analog. Meter and pulse seem to punish you more. Throw more meatballs when you do that. So let me kind of talk about, as I mentioned in my hitting tutorial, I use control freaks. If you guys aren't familiar with control freaks, they're kind of like analog extenders, and they add grip and they allow you to be a little more precise. So what I'd actually do is I put my thumb, when I'm pitching, I put my thumb right under the analog. I don't really put it on top and center. I put it under the analog and then I push it. The hardest thing for me was to actually throwing like straight. And I still struggle with it sometimes. I got it there. So yeah, so in my opinion, analog is the easiest to locate, especially on the vertical axis, because if you hit that yellow spot, you're gonna hit the the vertical axis wherever you were trying to throw. So if you're trying to throw low and you hit that spot, but you might miss a little, it'll still stay low. So, and I also like analog because to me, this is the highest risk, highest reward. It can be difficult to use if you guys aren't used to the analog. One key note of using analog, I found it very easy to pitch to the right side here, because your thumb naturally goes up and to the right because you're using your right thumb. It makes sense, right? But when you're trying to go up and to the left, that's where you have to really get under that analog. And I wish I could show you guys here, but you really got to get under that analog and kind of just push it manually. You got to get under. You can't put your thumb in the center of the analog and do it unless you're already used to that. But that's just how I do it. Showcase it a little bit more. All right, so now I'll go into talk about some tactics and strategies for. I'll start with online. All right, so even though I'm not an online game, I'll still kind of talk about how I would pitch. A lot of people online um, struggle with hitting high fastballs. I think if you played online, you would notice a lot of your opponents will throw you a lot of high heat. Um, another thing to know when you go online is your opponent's PCI feedback. You see in that bottom left hand corner is the feedback. That thing is off. That thing is not right online. So it kind of always shows your opponent center swinging. So you can't go based off that. The only thing that's accurate about that is the timing. If it says just late, very late, normal, or whatever, that's actually accurate. All right. So that contact and timing thing is accurate. The PCI placement, that's off. All right. It's always going to be in the center. I don't know why they did that for whatever reason. Maybe they did that intentionally. I'm not sure. So what I like to do is, man, I like to challenge people early on. I do a lot of high fastballs until they can hit it. If they start pulling it a little bit, that's when you got to start pitching. That's when it becomes a chess match. Now, I'll go ahead and say 90% of people cannot hit a high fastball. They don't put their PCI high. If they're using analog, they might be able to hit it every now and then, but they'll still have a late bat. So the first thing to recognize is when you're pitching online, you need to pick up their tendencies. Like, how is this guy hitting? Is he keeping his PCI center the whole game? All right, well, this should be an easy game. Just throw high heat and off speed low. Because, well, I should modify what I said there. Now, if you think he's center swinging and he's got an early bat, you want to keep it low. But if he's center swinging and he's got a late bat, you want to just pretty much throw high. Easy peasy. Now, if you're playing somebody that just keeps their PCI low, and a lot of people do this, again, just stay high. I know it might get repetitive, but you know that until they adjust their strategy, you don't need to worry about yours at all. I mean, you can just keep doing what you're doing. Another effective pitch online this year is the high breaking balls. Now, in years past, if you threw a high breaking ball and the hitter would actually get their PCI would like double in size, and they would hit it farther and harder. This year, it's not like that. Not like that at all. Your PCI is the same size, so you don't really get punished as much for throwing high breaking balls. I know that kind of sounds weird, but I know like if you're watching a baseball game and they always say hanging curveball, hanging slider. Well, they pretty much say that for every pitch, though. For every slider or curveball that's hit. But I actually think, you need to throw high breaking balls to offset your high fastballs, especially against good hitters. So, yeah, that's going to be one key tip. But that, again, that's going to be depending on your opponent you're playing. So now, let's say you're facing somebody that's either using analog or they're using zone, but they're very good at tracking the ball. We'll go ahead and just restart this. We're not going to do a pitch command. How do I restart? Alright. So say you got someone that's tracking the ball pretty well. This is where it becomes a chess match. You need to learn what they're vulnerable to. A lot of guys that track the ball really well, and I would like to say that I hit like that. A lot of these guys are weak, like right in the middle of the plate. I know that sounds weird, but usually like the middle inside or middle outside. I noticed the middle inside, they have trouble hitting this is because the way their thumb is positioned on the analog, they have trouble just barely moving the analog, the right analog to hit it. So if you throw it kind of just below or just above the strike zone, it's hard for them just to barely move their analog to hit it. But again, you got to be careful with this because you are throwing near the middle of the plate. So if they do center swing, they can hit it hard. You kind of need to pick up their tendencies. I noticed like a lot of the best players, man. Some of their weak spots are like right here. Shoot, even for me, sometimes I miss pitches right down the middle. Center swingers will really never miss them though. And then of course you need to look at their early or late. That's always one key tip. Every swing you need to be looking at their early or late, and right there it says swing outside, so you actually know he was outside of it, even though the feedback online will be off. Let me see. And just make sure you guys, if you're playing a competent hitter, just make sure you mix it up as best you can. If you're playing somebody that hits low pitches well, I can almost tell you guys right now, a lot of the better hitters will always hit a low fastball. It's the easiest thing to react to for a few reasons. It's easier to react to low fastballs because it slows them down on this game. Like Scherzer's throwing 95, but if I throw it low, let's see how hard what is it? it goes down to 93. So it'll probably do 92, 93. So not only does it slow the pitch speed down, it's easier just to hit your analog straight down. It's easier to react to it, trust me. So make sure you're careful with low fastballs. I wouldn't abuse them unless you're facing a center swinger. If you're going to be throwing low fastballs, make sure you're mixing in a lot of changeups and a lot of sliders. What I like to do is I like to start with sliders, changeups low, and then I like to sneak that third fastball, or excuse me, that third strike fastball in there, and it'll lock them up every now and then. Another pitcher I like to use, like a sinker two-seamer. A lot of people think you need to throw a sinker two-seamer low. No, that's not the case. The way I throw my sinker and two-seamers, I like to throw it inside and jam the hitter. I mean, what it does is it creates a little movement. Every now and then they'll pull it. Just make sure you get it inside. Usually you don't even want to throw it for a strike. If I can get it, I can't even get inside there. Another good pitch for that sinker two-seamer is that high and away pitch where it breaks back in. That'll get a lot of people looking. So that's just kind of a tip when using a sinker two-seamer. Just because I mean, a lot of pitchers, the term two-seamer and sinker is almost used interchangeably. Like the pitches are pretty much the same. The sinkers just have a little bit more downward movement. But don't be afraid to throw sinkers high. Just make sure you get it in or you get it high. Even throwing like a high two-seamer up here will confuse them because they'll see a little bit of movement and they'll think it's maybe a changeup or some other pitch. I don't know, but that kind of confuses them sometimes as well. Even a cutter or a running fastball, it can do the same thing. So I'll give you guys some more tips for holding runners. I know it's very hard to hold runners this year. Next year they're adding the slide step, so that should be easier. But a few things. When you're playing online, I don't like to play a box on because it can cause freezes. But every other year I've been playing a box on. So that's one way to combat somebody quick pitching against you, but you need to be aware of it when you have box on. Just make sure you come set every time. And the best advice I have for like this year online is just to throw over. You hit L2 and then the base, so circle. You would tap it twice for a casual throw over. You hold it for a deceptive throw over, and you just tap it once for a quick throw over. So make sure you're just doing that. And then another key tip is just hold the ball sometimes. So sometimes like hold the ball and then step off, because sometimes people will try to early still. So just sit there and hold the ball and mix up your timing, mix up your delivery to the plate. And then of course I recommend doing the slide step almost every time when somebody's on first next year. You can also mix a pitch out here and there, but a lot of people online will pick it up and just go back. So that part's kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. Another thing you guys should be aware about when you're playing online is if you throw a dirt ball, sometimes it can crash the game. So I don't even really try to throw dirt balls. I know that it kind of stinks that they take that out. It kind of takes out some of your pitch repertoire, but it is what it is. Every now and then I mix them in there, but I try not to throw that many. So I know in years past this slider low was a very good pitch, but I kind of throw it like right here now. Another key pitch is these front door sliders and curveballs this year. That's another good pitch to throw because a lot of people give up on it. So that's just another key pitch. And guys, that's going to be pretty much it. The pitching interfaces will all be in MLB 15, so you can pretty much use all this information I gave you in all the games. The only thing they're really adding next year is the ability to slide step. So, and I'll bring up one more thing before I end this here. Pitch confidence is very key in this game. So a good way to get pitch confidence up is when their pitchers come up or like a 9-hitter comes up. Use some pitches that don't have high pitch confidence and just throw strikes and make them hit it. That'll get your pitch confidence up. Offline, you can also turn the warm up setting on, whatever it's called, and then that's a way to get your pitch confidence up as well. So pitch confidence is key. I'm telling you guys, especially offline. Online is going to be able to allow you to locate a little better as well. So, but guys, that's pretty much going to be it for this tutorial. If you guys have any questions, comments, or anything, please feel free to leave a comment. If you guys liked the video, like it. If you disliked it, again, dislike it. I don't really care. I'm just trying to trying to get some videos out here before 15 comes out and try to help you guys out a little bit. But anyways, thanks guys. Take care.